occupation, intelligence officer.
Alias the Falcon.
You know, you meet the most interesting people on this job. As a case in point, I give you Robert Vaughn. Mr. Vaughn has what is known as an electric personality. Things always seem to happen when he's around. 2 months ago, he was in Vienna, and one of our agents was found in the Danube. A week later, he was in Rome, and they fished one of our boys out of the Tiber. Now he's in London. And with the Thames real handy, naturally, we're curious to see if bad luck comes in threes.
Chris, darling, what a delightful surprise. Didn't expect to find you here. What is it?
You're being followed.
Am I?
You think I'm joking. I tell you, he was just there. He got out of a cab a few seconds after you pulled up.
Is this the man?
Why, yes. Who is he, Robert?
A fellow called Mike Waring.
Mike Waring?
One-time private detective. Now on temporary duty with American intelligence.
How did you find that out?
Our sources of intelligence aren't exactly amateurish either.
Oh, Robert, I'm afraid.
Now, Chris, I tell you there's absolutely nothing to worry about.
Hold me tight. You do love me, don't you?
What a silly question.
Oh, Robert.
I thought you might be interested in knowing your efforts on behalf of world peace are appreciated.
Let's not kid each other. I'm a traitor.
Chris, please.
Isn't that what they call people who sell out their own country?
Darling, you mustn't talk like that. After all, your motive...
Yes, how about my motive? I'm in love with an enemy agent. You think they'll take that into consideration before they hang me?
Really, Chris, I don't know what's come over you. You're displaying horrible taste, darling.
I apologize.
You're an angel. Now, what have you got for me?
The minutes of a conference between Colonel Logan and Sir Ralph Gordon.
Excuse me a moment, darling. Chris, this is wonderful. I see they discussed a new heavy bomber.
Yes, the F-7.
Would there be any plans in England, I wonder?
Colonel Logan has a set.
I've got to get a copy. I'll get a camera.
Include me out.
And you claim you love me?
Well, if you don't know it by now.
Well, you can't refuse me this.
I ought to have my head examined.
But you'll do it?
I'll do it. Get me a camera and I'll take care of it tonight.
Begging your pardon, miss. It's only me, Alfred Brooks. I thought everyone had gone home.
No, I'm working late, Brooks.
Oh, is the Colonel here?
No, he's away for the weekend.
Oh, I thought I'd scrub these floors. Now, where would you like me to start? Oh. Blimey, that's a smasher, that is. You know, my brother's got one of these. He brought it back after the war. Takes lovely pictures.
Yes, I'm sure.
Ain't it against regulations to bring a camera in here?
Well, you see, Brooks, I'm going away for the weekend, and I didn't want to have to come back again and pick it up.
Oh, I see.
I hope you won't say anything to Colonel Logan about this.
Well, I don't know, Miss Blackburn.
You wouldn't want to get me into trouble, would you?
Of course not. I know what trouble is. I've had my share. Why, it takes a blooming fortune to keep a man alive today. You know, the pound ain't worth what it used to be.
Well, could you use 5?
Oh, now, I don't want you to think I was hinting for money.
Of course not.
Not that I can't use it, you understand. Imagine, 9pence for a pint of bitters.
But then this ought to buy you a barrel.
Oh, thanks, Miss Blackman. You're a real lady, you are.
And you won't say anything to Colonel Logan about this? On your word of honor?
On my word of honor. You got nothing to worry about, miss. Ask anyone. When Alfie Brooks gives his word, it's like a bond. I've forgotten it already.
Well, that's Alfie Brooks for you. The obliging type. But I didn't have the opportunity to make his acquaintance till several days later. I found him at the Fox and Beagle, a small pub in London's East End.
Here, what's your idea?
Are you Alfie Brooks?
Who wants to know?
My name is Mike Waring.
You ain't one of them blooming cops, are you?
Not exactly. I'm with American Intelligence. I'd like a word with you.
Well, I ain't done nothing. If anyone's pinched anything, it wasn't me.
I'm sure it wasn't. Sit down.
Well, now, it's getting a bit late, you know.
Oh, this won't take long. Not a moment. Would you like something to drink?
Well, I wouldn't mind half a pint of bitters.
2 bitters, please.
You know, you're being very sociable, Mr. Waring.
Maybe you can do something for me. You look like a man who keeps his ears and his eyes open.
Well, now, I wouldn't want to be the one to say...
Oh, don't be modest, Brooks. Anyone can see that from your work. One look at those offices and you can see you don't miss a trick.
Well, like I always say, Governor, if a thing's worth doing, it's worth doing well.
Oh, is that what you always say?
Yes, I don't like some of those blokes I could mention who do things with a lick and a promise. I like to be thorough.
Don't the hours get you down?
No, why should they?
No, I mean, don't you ever get lonely? No one to talk to? I know I would.
No. Gives a man time to think.
I'll bet. So if you saw anyone around after hours, naturally you'd remember.
Naturally.
Well, have you?
Have I what?
Have you seen anyone in Colonel Logan's office late at night?
Like who, for example?
Well, like some of the men, or Miss Blackman, the Colonel's secretary.
Oh, you mean there's spies at work?
Well, why do you ask that?
Oh, I know. I go to the cinema. I know where those blokes work. Now, if there's any hanky-panky going on...
There is.
Ooh, what do you know?
The question is, Brooks, what do you know?
I don't know a ruddy thing, Governor. And if I come up with anything, you can leave it to Alfie Brooks to know what to do.
Do you mind pointing that thing elsewhere? You have no idea how easy those things can go off sometimes.
Oh, yes, I have.
You're Colonel Logan, aren't you? I didn't expect to find you here.
That's quite obvious.
My name is Mike Waring. I'm with Intelligence. If you care to see my credentials...
Keep those hands where they were.
You satisfied?
What are you doing here?
Investigating the help.
I don't believe you.
Well, there's your proof.
It could be forged.
Look, there's a leak in this office.
And you suspect Miss Blackman?
Yes, I don't like the company she keeps.
Sit down.
Who are you going to call?
Scotland Yard.
I wouldn't do that if I were you. There's no sense bringing them in a family brawl. Now, leave.
Keep your hands where they were.
What's the trouble? I'll call a doctor. Don't do me any favors. Look, man, you're sick. I'll manage. Look, Colonel, are you sure you don't want me to call a doctor?
Get out.
Colonel, are you crazy? Let me call a doctor.
Will you get out?
All right. I'll talk to you some other time when you're in a better mood.
I tell you they suspect something, Robert. I'm being followed.
You're imagining things, darling.
No, I'm not.
What does he look like?
I don't know.
Is it Waring?
Waring?
Mike Waring, that fellow from American Intelligence, remember?
Oh, no. No, this man is shorter.
Then there's no cause for concern.
Robert, you promised me we'd go away.
We will, darling.
Well, when?
Now, Chris, I told you just as soon as we...
You expecting someone?
No. Who is it?
Porter, Mr. Vaughan.
Well, I go.
Darling, you have got a case of nerves, haven't you?
Well, I'll be in there.
As you like. Just a moment.
Hello, Governor.
Who the devil are you?
Alfie Brooks is the name. Is, Miss Blackman here?
I'm afraid you're making a mistake.
Oh, no, I'm not. I followed her here. Huh. Blimey, it's a nice place you got here, Governor.
Glad you like it.
What do they, charge you for a flat like this?
Why, you thinking of renting one?
Oh, I don't know. Never can tell. Might be in the chips myself someday.
What's on your mind, Brooks?
Well, a bloke by the name of Mike Waring was around to see me last night, and he wanted to know
I
if
can imagine what he wanted to know.
Oh, I didn't say anything about Miss Blackman. You see, I give her my word.
Naturally, you wouldn't break it.
Naturally. Unless there's some conditions what I can't control. Like, for instance, if there was any hanky-panky going on.
What do you mean by hanky-panky?
Well, for argument's sake, suppose Miss Blackman were a spy. Not that I think she is, you understand.
I understand.
Then I would have to do my duty and tell all I know. You see, I'm patriotic, I am.
That's obvious.
Of course, I wouldn't want to do anything to hurt Miss Blackman. There's no reason why I should.
No, of course not. Provided you're paid.
Like I always say, Governor, I like a man that don't beat about the bush.
How much do you want?
250 pounds.
Well, that raises a problem. I haven't got that much on me.
Oh, that's all right, Governor. I'll trust you.
You might be making a mistake.
Ah, no, I'm not. You see, I can always go back to Mr. Waring. He's my insurance policy.
Sort of Lloyd's of London, eh?
That's right. Lloyd's of London.
Where do you live?
13 Oakley Square West. That's in Camden Town.
I'll come by at 11:30.
Oh, give Miss Blackman my best.
I will.
Cheerio, Governor.
Well, was I imagining things?
Apparently not.
What are we going to do?
Well, obviously, I can't permit myself to be blackmailed. So, there's only one possible solution.
No.
I'm afraid it's yes, darling. Why do you think I told Brooks I'd be there at 11:30?
I have no idea.
Well, that's the time I expect to be with your employer.
Colonel Logan?
Yes, and naturally, if I'm with the good colonel, I can't kill Brooks. Ironic, isn't it, that the American attaché should be my alibi.
But if you're going to be with the colonel...
I can't take care of our Mr. Brooks.
Well, then who will?
You.
You're crazy.
Oh, what's the trouble, darling? Is there something wrong with my logic?
Everything. You don't think I'm going to commit murder?
Really, Chris, at times you do show your middle-class background, don't you, dear?
Look, Robert, I've done an awful lot for you, but I won't...
Would you hesitate to kill a rattlesnake that was threatening to strike you? Well, this is precisely the same thing. It's purely a matter of self-preservation.
I don't care what you call it. It's murder.
Such an ugly word. I prefer to call it self-defense. Here. Chris, you must be more careful. We can't have you losing things, dear.
I won't do it, Robert.
And I say you will. Now, darling, I'm expecting the colonel here in a little while. And it won't do for him to find you here. Now, sweet, you've got a job. An awful lot depends on it.
You're going to regret that, Vaughn. I believe that's checkmate.
Oh, the devil did I miss that. You're too good, Colonel. How about another game?
Now, I promised my doctor I'd be in bed by 10. I had a slight touch of indigestion earlier tonight.
Can't be more than 9.
Well, if it isn't, someone had better notify Big Ben. That's 11 he's striking now. Good night, Vaughn, and thanks for the game.
Pleasure was mine, Colonel. Good night.
Hello, Brooks.
Oh, Miss Blackman.
Uh-huh.
I was expecting Mr. Vaughan.
Well, he couldn't make it. He sent me in his place.
I don't like that. It seems to me when a man makes an agreement...
It couldn't be helped.
You got it with you?
Yes, I've got it. Where's your wife?
I sent her down to her mother's. I didn't think Mr. Vaughan would want anybody around while he's conducting business.
Well, that was very clever of you, Brooks.
Yes, you got to get up very early in the morning to put anything over on Alfie Brooks. You found that out, didn't you?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Oh, I'll admit you had me fooled for a little while. Don't tell the colonel, you said. You don't want me to lose my job. You're a sly one, you are. You and that pal of yours, Mr. Vaughan. Why, butter wouldn't even melt in his mouth. But like I said, I'm going to keep my promise. I ain't going to say a word to the colonel. I'm going to retire.
On 250 pounds?
Did you think that's all I wanted? What's 250 pounds? Oh, blimey, wouldn't half buy this. You know, I got ideas. I'm going to get one of them flats like Mr. Vaughan. You know, with pictures and books. Oh, I ain't a bad-looking bloke when I'm all spruced up. I do say so myself. Well, let's get down to business. Here, what's the idea?
What's usually the idea?
Yeah, this is no time for jokes.
I'm not joking, Brooks. It's all your fault. Why did you have to interfere? It was none of your business. No, you got greedy. Money. You'd hound me to my grave.
Honest, miss, I won't take another penny. Honestly, I won't. Believe me. I won't do it again, miss. Honestly, I won't.
You couldn't let well enough alone. You couldn't be satisfied with what I'd given you. You had to follow me. You had to hound me like a dog. You brought this on yourself. I didn't want to do it, but you made me. You made me!
And 12 hours later, the wheels of justice began to turn, with Scotland Yard supplying the directions.
I'll do it.
I'd like to see Alfie Brooks.
I think we can oblige you. Come in.
Oh,
I can take a closer look?
if you don't mind.
I insist.
Not very pretty, is it?
No mother ever is. I don't believe I got your name.
It's Mike Waring.
I'm glad to know you. I'm Primrose, Inspector Primrose.
I take it you're all from Scotland Yard?
Yes, you take it correctly.
Well, this is no time to hold out. I'm with American Intelligence. Would you like to see my credentials?
I'd like to very much.
There you are.
Mm-hmm. Seems to be in order. Brooks wasn't a friend of yours, I take it.
Hardly.
Then your call here was hardly a social one.
On the contrary. Look, Inspector, this isn't for publication. There was a spy at work at our legation.
Brooks?
You don't think it likely?
Hardly, old man. He was employed as a porter. He was in no position to know anything.
Well, he knew something. He was shot.
By the spy?
He or someone else.
Look, aren't you being a little vague, old man? Isn't it time you started to name names?
Well, suppose we start with Robert Vaughn.
I beg your pardon.
I suggest we question him right now. Shall we go?
All right. See you later. It's a very interesting story, Inspector. Really, old man, you can't be serious. Why should I kill this, Brooks, Alfie Brooks? Thank you, Inspector. Oh, I'm sorry. Won't you sit down? Oh, thank you very much. Some coffee? Yes, please. And, cream? Just a dash.
Why don't you say you didn't even know the man?
I didn't. Sugar? One, please.
Stop it. He was working for you.
And why should I kill him? Coffee?
No. All right, so he wasn't working for you.
Well, make up your mind, Waring. Was he or was he not?
Look, Inspector. Suppose someone else in that office were cooperating with Vaughn and Brooks discovered it. Assume that he was trying to blackmail Vaughn.
You're assuming rather a good deal, aren't you?
Why don't you tell us what you were doing last night at 11:30?
Because I hate to involve anyone.
You're bluffing.
I shouldn't advise you to call me.
Well, I'm going to because the inspector and I have a little side bet on your hand.
And I've got a full house. At 11:30 last night, I was with Colonel Logan, the American attaché.
You're lying.
Really, I wouldn't know. But supposing the Colonel bears out my story.
As someone was horsing around with the watches.
Horsing around? Surely you mean jiggery-pokery.
I tell you, his alibi is a phony, Inspector.
Then we have a very good way of finding out in England. Supposing we go around and see Colonel Logan. I suppose you do the same in America. Thank you very much indeed. It was excellent coffee. Glad you liked it. I'll be with you in a moment, gentlemen. You know, it really is very good coffee. Are you sure you won't have some?
There was no one in Logan's outer office when we marched in. But the partially open door to his private office was an invitation to walk in, which we did.
Come in, gentlemen.
What's going on?
Sad, isn't it? I cautioned him, but he just wouldn't listen.
Who are you?
I'm Dr. Wellman.
What's wrong with the Colonel?
Can't you see? He's dead.
It's impossible.
Oh, no. Typical coronary. They often go that way, you know. Long hours, overwork, strain.
Tough.
I assure you there was no pain. He didn't know a thing.
Kind of upsets things, doesn't it, Vaughn?
Why?
You claimed the Colonel was your alibi.
He was.
How are you going to prove it?
That does create a problem.
If you gentlemen will excuse me, I'll make the necessary arrangements.
One moment, please. Have you seen Miss Blackman, the Colonel's secretary?
Isn't she out there?
No.
Then I would know where she could be. Good day, gentlemen.
Good day. Solved your problem, Vaughn?
I'm afraid you leave me no choice, gentlemen. I didn't kill Brooks, but I know who did.
I say now, why didn't you tell us this before?
After all, I am a gentleman. Where a lady is involved...
Yes, Inspector. He means Christine Blackman.
The Colonel's secretary.
Yes. Then all this time you knew it was Christine.
I wasn't sure, not until you said there was a lady involved.
But why did she kill Brooks?
Well, a couple of nights ago, at my apartment, I've been seeing a good deal of her. And while driving in the fog, she hit a pedestrian.
Oh, you mean that hit-and-run victim we found out at Camden?
I shouldn't be at all surprised. Anyway, Brooks apparently found out about it and attempted to blackmail her.
You know something, Vaughn? I've heard a lot of liars in my time, but you're tops.
That's grounds for slander, you know.
Would you like to know why Brooks was killed?
Really, I'm not interested in conjectures.
No? Well, try this on for size. Brooks wasn't killed because Miss Blackman ran down a pedestrian. He was killed because he found out she was aiding an enemy agent. You, Mr. Vaughn.
I, an enemy agent? Sheer conjecture, my dear fellow, sheer conjecture. But even if I were, she's the one who shot Brooks. You can't hold me for that.
No? Did you ever hear of an accessory before the fact, Vaughn? You're the accessory.
I'm afraid you'll find that rather difficult to prove.
Not so difficult once we pick up Miss Blackman. I'm sure she'll tell us.
I've had a rather trying day, gentlemen. So I hope you don't mind if I leave now. Stand perfectly still, and I'm sure you'll live to a ripe old age.
I guess it's true what they say about people who listen at keyholes. They never hear anything good about themselves.
I'm sorry, sweet, but you understand.
Oh, I'm not angry, Robert. I always knew you'd cut my throat someday. Throw your gun away, quick.
As you say, my dear.
How is he?
He isn't.
I loved him so very much.
Come on.
Love. It's a funny thing. Even makes traitors out of people.